All right, guys. So we are talking about unit multipliers today. You've worked on those at least a little bit before. So this is going to be kind of a review. And before we even get into them, I want to review with you what they are and how they work. So as an example, can you give me another way to write 1? What's another way to write 1? Oh. All right, fractional pieces. Okay, so as long as you have a fractional piece that has the same numerator and the denominator, it's worth 1. Give me another one. 6 over 6. Brilliant. Give me one more. Amaya. I was hoping you'd pick that one. Not really. I don't really care. As long as the numerator and the denominator are the same. You know it's going to be the same, right? But now I'm going to look at this. I'm going to pull this one out. We did 4 over 4, okay? I'm going to rewrite that a little bit differently. And let's attach something to the 4 and to the 4. Let's attach a measurement. Okay, so I'm going to say this is 4 feet over 4 feet. Is this still equal to 1? 4 feet over 4 feet. Raise your hand if you think it's the same as 1. Okay, you should all put your hand up. It is. Why? Because my numerator and the denominator are exactly the same. Anything over itself. Right? We said Mr. Gum over Mr. Gum. Tyler over Tyler. 3 over 3. All of those things are equal to 1. So if I got 4 feet over 4 feet, it's equal to 1. I'm going to change it just a little bit. I'm going to keep the 4 feet on the top, but I'm going to change, oops, come on. I'm going to change 4 feet into inches. If I had a foot and a foot and a foot and a foot, how many inches is that total? 48. So I'm going to change the bottom. Instead of calling it 4 feet, I'm going to call it 48 inches. Are the top and the bottom the same? They are. So is this still equal to 1? They are. Okay? So keep this in mind. That is equal to 1. What if I put 48 up here on the top and I put my 4 feet down here on the bottom? Are those still the same? Yeah. So this is still also equal to 1. Both of these things are called unit multipliers. And let me show you a whole bunch of unit multipliers kind of like that. 12 inches over 1 foot. Those are the same thing. So this is equal to 1. 1 foot over 12 inches. Those are the same on the top and the bottom. So those are equal to 1. 3 feet over a yard. That's the same as 1. 1 yard over 3 feet is equal to 1. 60 minutes is the same as an hour. So that's equal to 1. That's equal to 1. That's equal to 1. That's equal to 1. Whenever you have something on the top and something on the bottom, even if we're using different measurements, as long as they're equal, that whole fraction is equal to 1, and it's called a unit multiplier. Now, why in the world would we ever want to use unit multipliers? It's really when we want to change and convert from one measurement to another. Okay, so up here we said, what's something, like we deal with 3 feet and yards, no problem. But if I said, well, we've got 3,964 yards, how many feet is that? Well, that's a little trickier to just do quickly in our heads, so we might use a unit multiplier. Here's how that works. Well, before we do that, I forgot I was going to have you try some on your own. Go ahead on a piece of paper. Knowing that 1 yard and 36 inches are the same, on your piece of paper, can you write down 2 unit multipliers that you could make using those 2? I'll give you the first one. 1 yard over 36 inches. That's your first one. Give me the second one. What's the second one, Cheer?
36 inches.
Yeah, using the same 2 things, just flip them around. Put 36 inches on the top over 1 yard. So these would be the 2 possible unit multipliers that you could make using these 2 measurements that are the same. Do the same thing here and here. Give you a second to do that. Jalen, what'd you get for this one?
100 centimeters equals.
Not equals.
Or over 1 meter.
Yep. Or?
And 1 meter over.
Good. And Enya, what'd you get for the last one? 16 ounces and 1 pound. 4. 1 pound over 16 ounces. So this and this are equal. They're both equal to 1. We can use them as unit multipliers. Are we okay with that? Good. All right, so now here's how we actually make use of them to convert things. Whatever our given measurement is, maybe it's, like I said, 3,243 yards, we could multiply that by a unit multiplier. Remember, your unit multiplier is always going to be equal to 1. So you're not changing the value of it. You're just going to be changing the measurement type. Okay? So whatever your given measurement is, you're going to multiply that by 1, your unit multiplier, and now you've got the same thing but in different terms, a converted measurement. Here's an example of that. Convert 10 yards to inches. Okay? So like we set up here, our given measurement, in this case, is going to be 10 yards. So that's what we're starting with. 10 yards. We're going to multiply that by some unit multiplier. So something over something. We're dealing with yards and inches. So what's a unit measurement that I could use between yards and inches? I think you just came up with one, didn't you? How many inches are in a yard, or how many yards are in an inch? 36 what?
Inches in a yard.
36 inches over 1 yard, right? So those are the same. That could be a unit multiplier. Or maybe I want to use 1 yard over 36 inches, right? Those are my two possibilities using yards and inches. Okay, so which one of those needs to go here? Well, 10 yards is like 10 yards over 1, right? We could put 10 yards in the numerator, just 1 in the denominator. So between these two, I want to make sure that if I'm getting rid of yards, it goes in the denominator down here. Because then they're going to cancel out when we multiply. Okay, so it wouldn't be wrong to multiply it by this, but we want to use this one, the 36 inches over 1 yard. Remember, this is just multiplying it by 1. That's all we're doing. It's just going to change the measurement that we're dealing with here. Okay, so when I do that, my yards and my yards cancel out, and all I'm left with are my inches that are in the top. 10 times 36 is 360. 1 times 1, if you really wanted to, you could put it over 1, but we obviously don't need to do that, right? And so altogether, there are 360 inches in 10 yards. It didn't change the value of it. If I said measure from there to there, one of you measures in yards, you're going to get 10 yards. Somebody else is going to say, well, it's 360 inches. It's the same value, but we're just changing which size measurement we're dealing with. Make sense? I'm going to do one more with you, and then you can do one on your own. Okay, so we are starting with 24 feet. Okay, we're going to multiply that by a unit multiplier, so something over something that equals 1. And we're going to change it into a total number of yards. Okay, since we're dealing with feet and yards, what are the possible unit multipliers I could use? Amaya, what do you think? How do I get from feet to yards, or yards to feet? How many feet are in a yard, or how many yards are in a foot? 3. Okay, so I've got 3 feet over 1 yard, or I could flip that around and say 1 yard, 3 feet. So I'm going to either plug this in here or plug this in here. Which one do I want? Which one? Yeah, why are you choosing this one? 1 yard on the top and 3 feet on the bottom. Correct, right? So here this cancels with this. The reason for that canceling, remember, is this because that's like this over 1. Okay, so those cancel. I got 24 times 1, which is 24 in yards. I got 1 times 3, which is 3. And now in this case, I do need to do a little bit of simplification, don't I? 24 divided by 3 is 8. So I've got a total of 8 yards here. You good so far? All right, try this one. Try this one on your own. It's a little bit different. But basically you need to either convert 20 inches into centimeters, or you can convert 50 centimeters into inches so that you can compare them. This might not be a real familiar one with you, but 1 inch is the same as 2.54 centimeters. Okay, so you could come up with 2 unit multipliers, 1 inch over 2.54 centimeters, or 2.54 centimeters over 1 inch. I'll give you a little bit of time to do that. So pick first of all, which one are you going to convert? What are you converting? Starting with 20 inches? And make sure you're adding the labels. So if you're going to multiply that with the 2 unit multipliers. The other one that were inches is going to be on the bottom, right? Because you're starting with 20 inches. Did you do that, or did you do it the other way? Why do you have 50 now? No. Don't do that. You started out with 12. You see, most of you are starting with 20 inches. But then I think we're getting a little confused with that. If we're going to convert 20 inches, 20 inches times our unit multiplier, right? Our unit multiplier is a fractional piece. Since we have inches here, I need to have inches in the bottom. So what's your unit multiplier? Well, we're using these two numbers, right? So 1 inch and the 2.54 centimeters would go up here. Now you can multiply across. Inches go away, you're left with centimeters. What's 20 times 2.54? Yeah,
50.80.
50.8. All right, or is it 08?
No, it's just
50.8 centimeters, yeah, 5.08 meters, or millimeters. Okay, so now to answer the question, which one of those is bigger, 20 inches or 50 centimeters? 20 inches, because 20 inches is 50.8, that's the larger of the two. Good? Okay, here's another one. You can do this one on your own. This one's maybe a little, I probably should have given this to you first. It's not comparing, it's just converting. Okay, so change 20 miles per gallon to miles per quart. Okay, so here's miles per gallon, miles per quart. Give that one a shot. No, what's up? Whenever you have a negative out front first, it's like -1 times everything at the radical. So pretend this isn't there. You figure out what the 4th root of 10,000 is. And then you multiply that by -1. Miles per gallon. We're going to multiply, we want gallons down here, which is 1. We've got 4 quarts up here. Those are the same. Gallons, gallons. Now I've got miles per quart. 20 times 4 should get me 80. How do we do there? All right, I think we're going to stop on that one. We've got an assignment that does have at least a handful of those worked into it as practice, and then you'll see them from time to time with other practice as well. I think once you get the hang of this, it clicks. If you're not quite there yet, it might take a little bit of practice. We're gonna do 2 through 30 evens on this one.